Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Let me know if you guys can hear me or not. And we will get this ball rolling. I hope everybody's doing well. Been a long day. I got a few theories actually that I'm going to be making some videos about. This series has been just really just above any bar that I had set for it. It's been a nice surprise. So yeah, OTDA, what's going on? The omniscient moderator there. Make sure these levels are okay, and we will get it going. Let's see. All right. So what we're going to be talking about for the first portion of this is essentially not the right one. Sorry about that. Get that out of there. There we go. The few major plot points that we hit on this one. These 2 episodes, and I was actually hoping they were going to give us only one, just for the sake of me, because I really want to cover this, and I really love how like above the table they are on this. They're very overt, right, in their message. It is, what is the benefit of a believer? What is the benefit of, living just for science, and what we can, reach out and tangibly achieve, and so forth. So I think that we've got a lot of good aspects that have been coming through. I just want to say what's up to the chat. I know Amberlyn Marie was here earlier. I don't know, we had to set it back a minute. John Taylor, what's going on? Yeah, so I linked above a good information of Mithraism, meaning the Mithratic cult, the mystery cult, in their relationship to soul. And it's something that I brought up in one of the first streams I did, is that this is more of a methodology. This is more of a practice that's practiced within multiple religions, meaning the sun god soul of that, like Cyprus the Great, that the Persians would have definitely worshipped, and then the Roman soul, and how it's been interpreted, how it's been kind of mixed and mashed with Christianity, and so forth. But I think that we get a really cool insight into what's going on as far as these believers and non-believers, and I think that we're seeing a very balanced, by the way, perspective on both sides. So let's just start off with Paul was stuck down one of these holes, one of these primordial holes, right? And Mother uses her abilities to find him. But he was, is it Tally or Tully? It's Tally or Tully is the child that keeps appearing and leading people away. We'll touch on that a little bit later. Important part is that Paul, right, is saved. He's saved by Mother, and he goes back, and then we have a instance. We'll just cover Mother, Father. We'll cover the android family, or the androids raising the humans' families first here. But I think it's really interesting because what we see is a lot of like marital issues, right? With these 2, doesn't Mr. look like the Statue of Liberty, or is it the same type of? I mean, there are a lot of different incarnations of it, and there is a lot of different interpretations of what it was, and all of the people that wrote about Mithras supposedly, meaning like wrote about it in a macro sense of what it really was in the 18th and 19th centuries. I don't know. But I did link a very good video and article that is very helpful, because it is a lot of people were saying that this religion is like a easy out for them. I'm like, no, this is a real thing. Like this was very prominent, especially during Roman times. The Roman army used it, quite extensive. So what we have going on with the they all, yeah, I mean, maybe it's just another French sculpture, John Taylor. But what I saw with Mother and Father is fascinating, because we see a human dynamic within them within these 2 episodes. We see that Father feels demasculated to a certain extent, and he feels useless. He feels that Mother is now, has all the agency over everything, which, to the point she is a stronger being. But it's really interesting how they are like mixing and mashing the same type of character dynamic that I believe Westworld does well. And I've said this before, but I think they're doing it really well, guys. Like, I think that the overtness of this is really beneficiary to us as a message in a big picture sense, because we have these ideals that aren't being cloaked too much or veiled, and it's a fun conversation because we see throughout all of this, like, okay, can androids, do androids dream of electric sheep and all this, like Philip K. Dick stuff, which is very intriguing. Obviously, we all love it, but it's just right there on the table because we've got them at Kepler 22b. We've got androids trying to raise, children, organic children, human children. And we have a Mithratic tribe that has, now appeared, but it is now being led, or at least it was just containing some defectors, some atheists, some people, Marcus / Caleb and his wife. But now we've seen Marcus rise to power. We've seen Father lose power, but we've also learned a bit about Mother's past and where she comes from. And we also have an instance where we're going to hit on 3 major points: Mother and Father's dynamic, the Pulley incident or incidents, and the Caleb / Marcus atheist effect. So let's just start with Mother and Father. There's this obvious power struggle. They're very pragmatic because they're androids, but they have this this programming that tells them to be as supplemental and as beneficial, to be as advantageous to these human children as possible. So a lot of the these newfound humans that they rescued from the Ark of Heaven are questioning their motivations, or if they can truly have motivations. I see quite a bit of agency even within programming. I find this to be a fascinating concept because it's, they're just programmed to do that. Well, we're all kind of programmed to do a lot of things, nature versus nurture. But at the same time, Father feels inadequate. He feels that he needs to prove himself. She says, "Oh, I understand the limitations of your programming." And he comes back, "Well, my limitations, set aside, I am here to do a job, and I can't be everywhere at once." So this is something that there is definitely emotion within these androids, meaning they are not just acting off of analytical or, just primary directives or anything like that. I can't imagine this is an algorithm within their head, in a strict sense of that word, that is going on. What I see happening is they have human attributes, meaning they can emote, or what we attribute to being human attributes, because all we know, but they are emotionally driven beasts as well. And I think that's fascinating. I think Father's a very likable character. I think Mother is a terrifying character as well as a very formidable foe. But this, especially the first episode, really does focus on the other side of the coin. Caleb / Marcus. It's Marcus now. Let's just start calling him Space Ragnar, make it simple. But he is traveling with the Mithratic soldiers, with Ambrose, with his wife, and with hold on, forgive me, because this gentleman is going to be very, very important. We have, they need to give us one episode. Lucius, and he's from Narcos. I could not figure out where I knew that motherfucker from. But yeah, he's the one that was questioning at first about, because he knew Caleb, from the academy, and he spewed a little bit of nonsense to him. But Lucius seems to be all for Marcus, right? He's all for him. He's got his back. I'm predicting a big twist with that. I'm predicting that they definitely are going to have a reveal in which Ambrose was not the formidable foe in which we were first set up to see. Number one, spoiler alert if you haven't seen these episodes, Ambrose does die. They come upon this rock, this pentagon or pentagram, 5 points, whatever, shaped rock, and within the Mithratic belief system, most of their artifacts and most of their symbolism that has been excavated was found within they always did it within a rock casing, and everything was kind of meant to look like a shell, but a rock outer shell. And there's a symbolic and a meta meaning for all that I have linked for a theologian and a actual archaeological archaeologists to tell you about. But what we have is the crisis of faith, which is the name of the first episode. And we have Marcus walk up to that, and we see their values, right? So their values from the Mithratic are, we need to serve Saul, even if that means we don't get our kids back, right? Like, so that doesn't seem very advantageous. That seems very, selfish. It seems very naive, right? Like, it seems self-serving. It doesn't seem to be the best route to go whatsoever. And faith, obviously, can lead a lot of people and has led a lot of people down that road. They want to go rescue the kids. No, they find this, whatever you want to call it. They find this spectacular, possible place of worship in which represents their god. It's intelligent designed, is noted by Ambrose, meaning, like, the old adage is, if you find a watch and you've never, like, if somebody, a Neanderthal finds a watch and they look at it and they can tell that it's something they can't do, it's intelligent design. Is that proof that there's something higher than them? Like, does the watch prove that there's a maker? And that's, a theologian and a philosophical question that you can all ask yourselves. But the point is, they look at the structure and they think, oh, this is intelligent design. This is made by man. Kepler 22b is a planet that can hold life form. So there's a chance that there is life form already on this planet. And I'm not talking about the androids. So we see the definite, conflict of interest right there, because Marcus wants to go and he wants to find Paul, but they're stopped at this, place of worship. Right away, we have Marcus's wife, who gets kind of outed through not knowing a actual, it's not from the scriptures. They give this it's not an idiom, but it's like a lullaby that she kind of shows her colors right there when she does not know what that is. She asks if it's from the scriptures to it's Sue. Yeah, Sue. Hold on, I just want to make sure. Nope. Hold on, I just want to make sure that this is correct. And yeah, it's Sue. So Marcus's wife Sue shows her true colors by being naive about their ways, and she's out at Ambrose, right? She tells Lucius, this is what I'm talking about with Lucius. She goes, is it from the scriptures? He goes, no, that's a lullaby that you would all know. Much like this, Big Bad Wolf story in which the androids have been telling the children. So this is something within their formative years, first 7 years of their life, that's embedded in them. So if you're a believer, it's not like, oh, do you know the Book of David? No, it's like, do you know this fucking lullaby that, like, all of our people knew? Like, it's like kind of like a big out right there. Like, it's not just, I'm not as well versed in the doctrine as like a fellow theologian. No, it's like, motherfuckers, you should know this. Her answer is obvious bullshit. So you have to think, is Lucius, is he an idiot? Is he protecting them? Or is he in it for a bigger picture and a bigger game? And I got a theory about this that I'll publish separately that we don't know about, because he's far, far too willing to accept a lot of nonsense answers. Ambrose, long story not too short, ends up dying. This kind of furthers the proof to what I'm talking about, because, you would think that was like going to be the big, like, conflict, the internal conflict within the Mithratic would have been Ambrose versus Marcus, and you would have had mother and father, right? And then within the kids, you would have had, which I still think to be true, you would have had Paul and Campion. So, you have like a nice balance there. You got like 3 threads, you got 2, protagonists and antagonists for each one. And that's nice storytelling. But Ambrose is done. He's donezo. Gone. So we have him gone right away. We see a crisis of faith in the sense of when faith becomes beneficial in a pragmatic way. That's what I find very fascinating about this series, because there's all this silliness to believe. Like, there is, I'll admit it. Like, I mean, I'm not a firm, like, I'll put it out there. I'm pretty much agnostic. I just, for Westworld and all that, I think it's ridiculous to, discount everything, and I respect people's beliefs. But yeah, I'm not so much, taking the Bible word for word. But there's a benefit and I've seen this throughout this whole series, especially in these 2 episodes, but there's a benefit in both a social standing for this belief system, as we see displayed with Marcus, in a pragmatic sense of something other than yourself that we see with Campion. So example being, we have Marcus that outside of this 5-pointed structure starts to hear the voice of soul. And please watch the video that I linked you guys, because I won't sit here and try to get all theologian on you again. I don't have a degree in theology, so like I'm trying to just source that somewhere else and leave my own beliefs out of it for this show. But I think this show does do like a really good job of introducing us to like real world stuff. And I was surprised at how many people are just coming around to say again, oh shit, that's real. Like, yeah, it was, like I said, it's not like it's like a highly practiced doctrine right now, but yeah, it's more of a methodology. It's more of a thing that's kind of translated or attributed sometimes, accurately, sometimes inaccurately to different faiths. But the point is, we see Marcus have a rise in power because of his belief, but we have him hear something. Now, he is attributing this to, at least to everybody else, to his wife, meaning he's saying, oh, it's this earwig, the thing that they put into his ear. That's what must have caused this. But then he has a fascination with what we see, and I have to believe that this is the gentleman in which raped Tempest that we come upon. We see Tempest is she is taken advantage of in her hyper chamber, her whatever they call that, the freezing, the cryogenic chamber. So she's taken advantage by one of the higher ups in the church, which obviously is very relevant in the real world. It's not out of the question, unfortunately. I wish I could say it is. It isn't. But we see that this person now is literally the embodiment of blind faith. But Caleb is very interested. / Marcus, Ragnar in space, let's just stick with that, is very interested in him, right? He says, first off, let's use him as cannon fodder. I believe that he's keeping him around because he just heard some shit that he's wondering about. Like, he's wondering. He's like, man, what's the deal with this guy? Because he just heard some shit. Like, he just had, like a breakthrough spiritually. Who knows what that was from? I tend to believe that and I'm going to do a theory video about it. I tend to believe that there's somebody, a higher power that is not a divine being that is trying to play God. A Dr. Ford situation that's happening right here. But all that aside, for the story's sake, right now, he chooses not to kill the rapist. And this actually helps us empathize. I mean, they do the same thing in Westworld with like the pedophile. And I said this in the after show. And I go, killing a pedophile is like the easy, like if you're writing a story and you need like somebody to kill that nobody's going to like bitch about, make it a fucking pedophile. Because if you stick up for that pedophile, then fuck you. Easy win, easy kill. Fucking kill the pedo, right? But he doesn't kill the pedo. So we can also see, because he goes, oh, you're just willing to kill him right here. And they said they actually like inject, he's had like due process. They don't say, like that, but that's what they imply. Like court's already about it, And again, pedo, just kill him. But Marcus is keeping him around, Space Ragnar. I believe it's because he's having a crisis of faith, in the sense of he might end up being more religious by the time he gets to those kids, till he gets to Paul. And Paul might be slightly less religious, and Campion will be far more religious. So we're gonna have a switch. We're gonna have a swap within ideals and within the spiritual beliefs of these people. So his wife also notices that he is being treated. So the pragmatic benefit that we see in these 2 episodes of a believer, especially within this Mithratic crew, is status, right? They get more servants, they get more food. So there is a benefit to spiritual belief, both in that system, meaning power, but there's also, switching to the other story thread, Campion. Campion is developing a spiritual belief, even though he's raised amongst wolves. But he is sitting there, and when he's trying to find food with Father is trying to make sure that they are self-sufficient. I love that guy that plays Father, man. He's a fucking standout. Campion's a good child actor, too. I've seen some complaints about the child actors. First off, fucking child actors, I actually don't think they're that atrocious. And the ones that, like, are shitty, they're, like, shitty people in the story, meaning you're not supposed to like them. So it's like, I don't know. I think people are getting that. You like what you like, you don't like. I don't think it's that atrocious. And I think the kid that plays Campion is a fucking winner. I think that's a, not really Charlie Sheen there, but I think he's a fantastic actor. It's a lot to ask of a child to carry a story like this, but I think it's being done well. because that's not our problem either. We're served it and we have to pay for it, so we better be judgmental of it or critical of it. So we have Campion that is sitting there when he's looking for nutrients with Father, right? And he closes his eyes when they're putting it in that like that machine that's, you know, like testing it for nutrients, and they find cyanide in it, and he closes his eyes, right? Because he's done everything pragmatically, practically. He's done everything he can with science. I mean, they're using the highest level of science, you know, that's available to him on this fucking dead earth. And Father notices it. He closes his eyes because he's probably praying. Praying to what? Who knows? But like, we all hope for something. So I think there is a practical benefit, but it can be just like anything can become problematic. So we see both sides of this coin within this episode, I think, very clearly. I heard some things about the pacing. I actually think we got quite a bit, especially with the Ambrose being cut short, in the sense of we thought it would go longer, but I like the dynamic of him being the new, you know, pretty much prophet of the Mithrak, to be far more intriguing, and fits Ragnar perfectly. Space Ragnar is going to rise up quick, bitches. But we see Campion, you know, close his eyes because he did everything right, and all he can do now is hope. Whether he's praying the soul, whether he's praying to fucking say, who knows? You know, whether, you know, he's given it a name, but it's just a belief in something bigger than himself, some intrinsic, you know, like aspect of the universe. Blah, blah, blah. The universe is indifferent, doesn't care about us, but there's a psychological, like, benefit to that, I believe. Like, so, like, it's just like anything. In doses, it's good. I don't know. So I see the pragmatic on both sides, because we see the total disconcern for children, which they're on a fucking planet that doesn't have, you know, like, barely anything to eat. They're all alone. The biggest hope is their kids, having kids. And they're willing to stop at this, like, you know, this idol, this, you know, this fucking, like, what I cannot figure out the right word to really, you know, call it, but, you know, some sort of religious, you know, site, something that is spiritually meaning for them, that rock, you know, that they're outside of. So, like, they choose to do that instead of that. Like, that's an example of, like, foregoing science, reason, and logic for spirituality. So it's a double-edged sword, but I think that it was done really well because we're setting up Campion. I'm about to play a clip because we're about to see the dichotomy between Campion and Paul, the believer and the not believer. But I think it's going to be hard after this episode to really name who's who, and I want to retouch on something I've been saying since even before this. Romulus and Remus, the founders of Rome. Remus is the one that kills the brother, raised by a she-wolf, you know, raised in the wild. Descendants, if you've ever had parallel lives of the descendants of Troy, supposedly start Rome. They find a way to, like, tie like failure into success in this mythology. Obviously, because I mean, I don't know, I'm just gonna go out on a fucking whim here and say that Rome wasn't founded by fucking, like, two twins that were raised by a wolf, but this is, you know, allegory for that. So I think that if you're going to ever have a setup for a betrayal or a friendship gone, you know, like, this partnership that seems to be going so right now, we got this scene, and I'm going to show it and hope I don't get copyright, and I'm going to check the chat here for a minute. John Taylor, okay. I'll catch up with you guys. Let me play the scenes.
Show me yourselves.
A new face, now a virtual body.
We have a son.
Where's Paul?
The necromancer took him and some of the other kids. We gotta get him back.
You still seem to harbor some confusion as to the chain of command here. We're not ready to mount a rescue, Captain.
In time, we'll start our journey to the tropical zone, but we can't leave until Tempest has given birth.
It was against my will while I was inside the shared simulation.
What if I killed the Gen 1s without knowing it?
It's not Mother that's making them sick. The carbos, they're radioactive.
Nothing's out there. You're just trying to keep us from running away.
Looks like Paul split off from the group. I'll go after him, you retrieve the others.
So this is the clip with Campion and Paul. This will be paid off in a later season. I guarantee it. This is the setup. This is what you write if you want to really, really establish two minds that are different in their ideology, their spirituality, and so forth, and then they will learn to trust each other. And then there are so many catchphrases and things that are going to come back around, guys. I swear, this is the start of Romulus and Remus right here.
Show yourselves!
A new face, now a virtual body.
We have a
Sorry
son.
about that, I went off.
Where's Paul?
The necromancer took him and some of the other kids. We gotta get him back.
You still seem to harbor some confusion as to the chain of command here. We're not ready to mount a rescue, Captain.
In time, we'll start our journey to the tropical zone, but we can't leave until Tempest has given birth.
It was against my will while I was inside the shared simulation.
What if I killed the Gen 1s without knowing it?
It's not Mother that's making them sick. The carbos, they're radioactive.
Nothing's out there. You're just trying to keep us from running away.
Looks like Paul split off from the group. I'll go after him, you retrieve the others.
Apologize, this is the clip we're talking about.
Did you hear that? Yeah. Give it here. I would have hit it on a second try if you'd let me, Campion. Did you see what it was eating? They can eat it. Maybe we can too. We need to get some of that fungus.
So the
You're upset.
we'll let it play through, but I just want to do the commentary here. I would hit it on the second shot. I bet my channel, for whatever it's worth, and that will come back in a future season where he hits maybe even Campion on a second shot.
My creator.
No offense, but reprogramming something like you to raise kids, I think your creator was kind of insane.
And it's interesting too that they've been reprogrammed, right? That they are a product of the Mithrak, not the atheists. The atheists reprogram them. So you could consider, no offense, but you could consider being, indoctrined to become very spiritual as being reprogrammed, born again Christian, so forth. It's a sense of belief that is definitely, dictated by the nurture in which you get. So it's nature versus nurture. Some people are programmed, predestined.
That's awful, but beautiful in its efficiency. When their corpses wash downstream, they'd provide essential nutrients for their newly hatched young.
So you're saying that I should beat myself to death to feed this baby?
No. I'm saying you're part of the cycle of life. And
so she's giving a really bad, this is where fathers should be handling this. A really bad analogy for like why it's important for her to suffer through, because Sam, and especially because salmon are also extinct. But here we go.
Hold on. Quick, he's coming.
You'll see this on a previously on about a season or two after this. This scene will be played.
I got it. I almost dropped you. I knew you'd keep hold of me. We can't tell anyone where we got this. Mother and Father don't like it when I take risks. I won't tell. I know. I trust you. You do? Of course I do. Now come on.
So that shit's gonna change. That's my point. That shit is not going to stay the same. That is a fucking epic clip that will mean so much down the line. They are setting that up I think, yeah, again, everything's above the table on this series. I think it's very overt, but I think it actually will help clear all the nonsense away. Like it's pretty clearly allegorical for a few things, right? But at the same time, that is the setup right there, because to have betrayal, you must have trust. So who will be who, though? Who's Romulus? Who's Remus, right? I'm a big fan. I think both those child actors are good too. So let's see. Alicia Kingston. Bald reveal. I got sick of the hat. Let's see. Person and where do you have Justin? Yeah. So I just shaved it with a bic like a madman. So we have the Paul and we have the Campion dynamic. We have the Caleb and the Lucius along with his wife Sue dynamic, where they are, benefiting off of the rise in power within, that spiritual organization. And we see, I think it's pretty clear that Space Ragnar is having a little bit, just like regular Ragnar did, a crisis of faith. Why they named it what they named it. But also, I think so much imagery here, and the visuals are very, very on point for Crusader expeditions throughout the, throughout the desert. They're carrying, it's like they're carrying, Balon, the Leopard King, essentially. Ambrose, somebody put in the chat earlier, quite accurately. Yeah, he's a fucking cuck, and he was so indecisive. But I think that Lucius is your foil in that situation. Lucius is far too he's far too eager to go along, right? Like he's too understanding. Everything just rolls. So you have to either consider that he's a fucking idiot, or he's got a bigger, there's a grander scheme at play. So when we go past the whole 5-pointed monument, we see that they go into like this like serpent style, another very allegoric, very meta, very symbolic structure, meaning the Mithratic stay and they meet that rapist, which I already spoke about. But at the same time, when they're there is somebody that comes in out of nowhere and is very, very agile, and also is taking those cards away from them, those cards that have those symbols on them. So they're figuring out where the kids are, and there's somebody's watching. So here is my theory, and we'll be closing this up shortly because I'm going to do a video on this, actually, like a non-live video. My theory is that what we see on our final note is, we have Campion, the first, Campion Sturgis. What up with no hat? Yeah. Did I miss? Yeah, no, I said no hat today. I said no hat, Justin. I said no. So it's part of the hat rehab service. How you doing, Sunflower Beth? Hope you're good. So we see that we have a institution in which is being watched, and it's being potentially dictated, in my opinion, by Campion Sturgis. We have Mother that gets into, yes, and you'll hear me say this, a fucking simulation. She gets into the cryopod. She hooks herself up. There's, a very clear exposition saying this is not meant for androids, right? Not meant for androids. This is, so right away, to be fair, we got to kind of fucking take this with a grain of salt. But we see her, that was, obviously a straight fucking killer, a necromancer, that is supposedly, this is what played out with her and Campion Sturgis. Campion Sturgis is called a traitor. He was, educated by the Mithraik. So he was once a believer. He came from a prominent family. So my thinking on this, now he had the tropey cough that he was sick, right? But also they did mention the oxygen wasn't good. So supposedly he's dead, right? And he was creating Mother as the last hope. And the last final test was like, it was like the opposite of Dr. Ford. He was hoping she wouldn't kill him. Instead of like, they just couldn't get these fucking robots in Westworld to start killing people until, like with actual full agency for like 2 seasons. So in this case, the challenge was not to kill him. and she goes on. There's also some type of a romantic relationship implied. It doesn't matter. My opinion is an educated man within the Mithras community that is well, learned, and also very, I would, he was surprisingly young, because I didn't think their creator would be that young. Obviously there's that, that primordial cough that he exhibited, but at the same time, guys, I think that's fucking him. Like, I think he's at Kepler. I think that he is playing an experiment because he was once a believer and he wants to see. Like, it's like this sick game. Like, it's like recreating Adam and Eve, Romulus and Remus, all these mythological creation stories to see the, substance of humanity. I think that that's definitely Sturgis. I think that that's definitely the first Campion right there. I think the reason for his agility is because of those packs, which have been, set up in the episodes before. That is what Marcus wears and Sue wear, or Caleb and Sue at the time, or whatever Sue's name. I figure out what her first name was. Doesn't matter at this point. But yeah, they wear those packs, right? That can make them like be more agile and jump around like fucking Bionic Commander from or Commando. So I think that the only person that it makes sense to be watching this is somebody that might have put this into play. It's like, hey, let me try this out and let me see what happens. Now, why he needed to lie to Mother and all that, a little bit hard to really, justify that. But at the same time, also do we justify that like these androids are also like unrecognizable to everybody? Like, I mean, there are a few issues I do have with this series. We have a lot of instances where it seems like it's pretty clear that's an android, and it's surprising to them they know facial reconstruction and that plastic surgery at that like the high level of plastic surgery, meaning like they can make me look like fucking Brad Pitt, like exists, but they seem ignorant to it. Like, so that's why I don't trust Lucius at all. Not to keep harping on that, but he is definitely like, he's definitely fucking hiding amongst that pack as well for a different agenda. But I think it's Campion Sturgis. I think it is the creator, and I think that we see a lot of parallels between creators and in the they say I am a creation. Mother says to Tempest, I am a creation, you are a creator, right? So like there's this like very beautiful sentiment about like the circle of life and all that, and like what is the point of like doing things with a idea that is larger than yourself, but not put into a deity, meaning you put it into the next generation. I think it's a good way to live. But I also think that we see indications, and I know a lot of you probably haven't even seen this episode yet, so you come back and watch it and tell me in the comments, and I will do the 2 theory videos. The first video will be on Lucius. Second video will be on Campion Sturgis and what I think is happening there. But I can definitely tell you that you got Campion versus Paul. That's your Romulus and Remus. Raised by Wolves isn't just a fairy tale. It is allegory for the mythology behind Rome. Remember that Rome is also like, the mythology behind that is that like Paris and Helen of Troy and everybody that got out of Troy, like this was written during the times of Augustus, not to go off on a rant, but like they like pretty it up. They're like, oh, but they ended up finding Rome. So they find like, they find virtue and loss, right? Which is also, again, all like these stories had advantageous. Like, I'm not like a hater on faith or anything like that. I think we all turn to it. I think that we see a beautiful example of it in the series, guys. Like, honestly, like we'll do a quick chat session here, but I mean, I'm pretty much agnostic, but I won't write things off because I think there's value in it. And I think that it's only normal that somebody like Campion, would be just so willing to do anything he could to help his fellow children, plus, even the androids, lesser and lesser to the point, but survive. That, man, once you get the fucking nuts down from the tree of knowledge, maybe, and you're trying to figure out if they're full of fucking cyanide or not, point that comes where the science is doing its thing, and maybe it's time to pray. Does that fucking do anything? Who knows? But psychologically, it's just like meditation. You know what I mean? It's a ritual, and it works. So as long as you don't dismiss science or anything like that, and I think that's the juxtaposition we're getting here. I think that it's very clear. I think that we're seeing the practical and pragmatic, the advantageous side to be, especially king of the Mithras with Space Ragnar there, with Marcus. And I think it's very, you start to see that power within the institution. You start to see also though where those where are those voices coming from? I think that is Sturgis. I think that we have been shown that Mother has abilities, and I don't write this off as it being like close the book on what we know she can do. Every episode, guys, we get something new we know she can do. Like, oh, she claims she didn't even know she could be like transform into like one of the kids, right? She did that. She puts them to sleep by just voice activation. We got Chekhov's eyes going on with her having to take those eyes away, right? Like, there's so many abilities that I don't think that we're near the end of that list. So I think that if we have this telepathic ability, Sturgis was somebody that programmed that, I think it's very possible, man, ladies, that those voices were coming from, you know, something that isn't necessarily spiritual. It's technological. So I think, you know, tech, hidden faith, but I think it's a madman's, it's like the diaries of a madman. I think it's a madman's experiment. Let's close it off. So top shelf fandom, one of them. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, unless you guys got any, I want to actually do like a polished video, but I just wanted to keep up these streams because instead of doing them, I want to say thank you to the Patreons, especially. I mean, you guys are fucking awesome. I mean, you're always supportive and you push me to watch this fantastic content. So I'm going to go ahead and republish this link down here for you guys because I really want you guys to check this out. I'm trying to make sure here that I don't step out of bounds per se, if that makes any sense. Meaning like I believe the theology to the theologians, but I'm open for a light talk on you know, the spiritual. I mean, because this is what the show is. I mean, there's no cloaking it here. So guys, if you didn't catch it earlier, please check that video out right there, and that goes and it follows you know, the actual lore or mythology, or you know, at least historical accounting of the cult of the mystery cult of Mithros. So yeah, and also I guess, you know, thumbs up if you want a hatted Justin at all times. Sorry. No, I just did it today, so it's fucking irritated as hell. But you know, once in a while you gotta do the bald reveal, guys. You just gotta do it. You know? But no, I can't thank you guys enough. We should be back on with the stream, what I'm calling the Obsidian Road, with Gray on Sunday. It was a holiday weekend. Both of us were out of town, so that we should have a good Stark stream this Sunday. Raised by Wolves is what this channel is about right now. I guess that what I should do is link one more thing for you guys, because I try to really share. I share this with my Patreons all the time, but I really, really cannot recommend enough that people read stories about story. Whether you find that to be intriguing or not, let me fucking know. But The Anatomy of Story, the 22 Steps by John Truby, this fucking book is amazing, guys. Now, it's not an audio book, but still please use the link in the information below for my Audible affiliate link. But I'm going to, let me find the Kindle. Find the Kindle version of this. Check this book out, guys. And you don't need to be an inspiring writer to like this stuff. Like, it's not, if you guys watch this channel, I can't stress enough, like, you're gonna fucking like these books. Like Robert McKee's story is something I highly recommend. Your camera image is way clear. I hope that's a good thing. But yeah, like, people always, I think, kind of mistake it for, oh, well, I have to want to be a writer to like this. No. If you guys watch this channel, these are the type of things you're going to like. Like, this talks about story in a macro sense. This talks about how the most minute of situations have the biggest character change, and the most, you know, extraordinary situations have the least, you know, character change. Like, you know, God, is this really going to be the fucking link? Let's see. And so, oh yeah, Lady Starfall, awesome. Yeah, no, I can't recommend it enough. Honestly, guys, like, I don't want to get all like down, but like, at the same time, I don't know how many new shows we're gonna get, and I'm not even grading this on that curve, to be honest. Like, honestly, like, it's it's really good. Like, I think it's up there with Westworld so far. It really is. Now, the first season of Westworld was extraordinary. I think that would be hard to top, but I wouldn't be surprised if this, because I could see this going about 2 or 3 seasons and being perfect. I don't see this going further than 3 seasons, and I would hope it wouldn't. That's just my opinion right now. Hope if it changes, it changes. But I will lay out my theories. It kind of like will give you a better idea about what I'm talking about here. Let me share this link. Copy. Yeah. I think that I think that 2 or 3 seasons would be good for this show. This is an amazing book, people. John Truby, The Anatomy of Story. And it's, if you enjoy listening to me fucking rant about this stuff, like, you'll enjoy this book. You have a better understanding of what it's all about. So OTDA, Lady Starfall, Sunflower Beth, Amberlyn, Marie, John Taylor, Billy, 2R. When does episode 6 come out? I'm assuming next week. They keep surprising us with multiple episodes. So to be honest, so let's see. We will see. Yeah, no, it's amazing. You guys are crazy cool. So make sure to hit that thumbs up. Somebody put a thumbs down right before the video started. I probably know who that is. Find out. Sad. It's sad how petty people. All right, then. Make sure to subscribe. I'll see you this weekend. And yeah, we'll actually have a few theory videos, which is, let's see. Watch some. Yeah, I put out on, what about Lovecraft? I know Gray's covering that, in a number of people are. I won't be. I just don't have the time. Sunflower? Yeah, Lovecraft Country. Yeah, no, I am going to watch it and enjoy it when I have the time. But no, I would just direct you to Gray for that. She read the books like a number of years ago, and she's watching the series, doing consistent videos on it. So this is right now with my workload. This is the one thing that I can pay attention to, and I feel I can get out polished videos on it. The Storyteller series is currently in the process of being remastered, meaning we will have those on podcasts because they're far more applicable to that and so forth. So yeah, I don't want to half-ass it. Like, I love this fucking show. I'm not saying I want to like Lovecraft. I might love that too, but I don't have the time to do it. So I think that I can do justice to this. I will keep you informed about this. I will at least give you, whether you agree with me or disagree with me, I'm going to give you, some objective truth and then some subjective, opinion on it. So, thank you so much. Yeah, I've heard it's good. I've heard it's very good. So, I think it's one of the gems, and it's something I look forward to enjoying myself later. So yeah, I would go gray area with that. Obviously, I mean, I'm a little partial, but I know that she read, the big thing on that is I know she read the books. So like, that kind of says a lot to me, because she's going to give you the full picture. Not that you have to do that, but hey, it's an informed source, right? So thank you guys so much. We will see you soon. I'm going to play you out. Thank you again for my Patreons. We're getting close to that $100, people. We're getting close to that $100. So $3 a month means so much to me. If it doesn't break you, please consider doing it. We will see you guys soon.
The new world that you start won't have the same problems that